To the special subgroup meeting on Tuesday, the 1st of November 2022. First on the agenda is the evacuation procedure. Do I really need to go through this with everyone?
Yes, please.
Really?
Yeah, because you haven't introduced me, thank you. So I'm a new member here. So now you don't want me.
Okay, thank you. Item 2, apologies for absence, members away on official council business. I have apologies from Councillor Declue's substitute, Councillor Simmons. Thank you very much. Apologies from Councillor Hayfield and Councillor Jens. Are they noted?
Yes, great.
Thank you very much. Item 3, disclosable pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests. Anyone? Okay. Item 4, public participation. I see nobody in the gallery. I presume we have nothing. Item 5, update report on human resources issue. I'll hand this over to you, Karen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, there's nothing further really to add other than what's detailed in the report, but I'm happy to take any questions if any members have any questions on any topics within the report.
Yes.
Yeah, just,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, sort of the absence thing isn't going the way we'd like it to go. It's not drastically, but and I'm sure everybody's doing their best to sort that out. But have we got a particular reason for that? I mean, is it an ageing workforce, or is it, you know, over to you, Karen?
Yeah, no, I mean, if you look at, probably useful to go to Appendix A, which gives you the breakdown of sickness in total, and then a breakdown of short-term and long-term sickness, and it's also broken down by division as well. So you can see roughly the total days lost is up more, obviously for 22-23, same in comparison to the same period for 21-22, by 96 days in total for the whole year across the council. That then gets broken down into obviously the number of sickness days per FTE overall, and then you can see a breakdown there for different divisions. I mean, the sickness, I mean, one factor with the council is, yes, in terms of the workforce, obviously with a lot of local authorities, it is an ageing workforce. That isn't necessarily primarily the reason for sickness absence. In the cases across the council, we can have young, old, individuals. It might be chronic ill health issues, it may be injuries, etc. That result in long-term sickness absence, because the breakdown that you can see there, short-term and long-term absence, if you look there, actually, in terms of short-term, the three highest divisions with the highest FTE days lost per employee is the streetscape, housing and the leisure division. Now, again, they're predominantly more manual roles in those areas, more frontline roles. So, if an individual has even just a cold and is feeling generally under the weather, it's going to be a lot harder for a refuse collector to potentially come into work with a cold, as opposed to an individual potentially sitting at a desk where you could manage more, where you're having to do physical labour. It's a lot harder. And the same whether it's housing operative or whether it's a lifeguard, etc. Again, if it's a physical ill health matter, whether it's a pulled muscle or a strain, etc. Again, those sorts of physical roles are a lot harder to accommodate somebody being at work. Obviously, what we do in any sickness cases is always look at what we can do to, if somebody was potentially off with sickness, facilitate a return to work, whether that's temporary adjustments, etc., to obviously get people fit and well and back at work as soon as possible. Yeah,
no, I mean, it doesn't seem to me that there's any sort of, it seems that people are on top of it. It's just not going the right way at the moment, and we hope for a.
No, I mean, this year short term has gone up a bit, and that is one thing that, you know, we'd need to look at in terms of making sure that is being effectively managed across the council. The report does detail about the number of cases that are on formal processes within the attendance management policy. Obviously long term, that's, unfortunately, sometimes when people then get, health issues, whether they have to have an operation or they've got an injury, etc., and long term, yes, they still need to be managed. It's sometimes easier to manage for long term because if you're working with a prognosis of recovery, etc. Very short term, repeated, regular, frequent absence does have a detrimental impact on provision of services, so that needs to be managed closely. Which the HR department work with, obviously, the managers across the council to ensure that, individuals where they're hitting triggers are managed appropriately in line with the policy.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Parsons?
Sorry?
Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Councillor Simmons.
I was just going to add to that one of the things that's it's difficult to see that worsening picture in lots of ways, because when you look at Appendix A and you look at the average FTE per division, you've got your hours of absence are out of a smaller pool of people. When you look at the total number of staff, 293 last year, 268 this year.
Yeah.
So even if it was the same number of hours lost, it would be a higher proportion. So it's because the proportion is of a smaller pool. Yeah. So is it necessarily worsening, or
take your point. Yes.
Or actually, so that's one of the things that would probably help in terms of actually occasions as well as per FTE, because when you look at it per FTE, if you've got a smaller pool, one absence in a small team of 4 is huge.
Yeah.
If it's one absence in a team of 10, it's quite a different picture.
Yeah.
Would that not complicate the data though?
It probably would. So it probably would, but it's just having that understanding when you look at it.
Yes. I mean, it's just obviously we don't want to be complacent, and,
no,
we would like to see the figure going the other way. But
absolutely.
I mean,
Councillor Mawson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since I have noticed from our doctors as well, since the COVID hasn't gone away, but they've been relaxed a lot. Lots of people are coming down with flu and various other symptoms that they'd never had before. That there was contained with wearing masks and various other things. Would that be why it's gone up in the first quarter, or gone up for this year to do it? And will it get higher later on?
That could potentially be one factor to it. If you look at Appendix B, obviously that breaks down in the reasons, the total amount of days lost for each reason in terms of what's on our return to work forms for sickness absence. One thing that I would say is, for example, just exactly that point you just made, stomach is up considerably in terms of the number of days lost in comparison to last year, up by approximately 129 days in comparison to the same period last year. So again, some of that, we have found where the general colds, flus, stomach issues, etc. There is still absence due to coronavirus on there that we're still logging that as well. But there probably has been an increase of, again, as same as last year, as society opened up more after lockdown, and people are again getting back to more socialisation, and society's opened up. There is that picking up books.
I think there's that as well. There's a bit of a cultural shift post-COVID. Pre-COVID, well, if you had a cold and you went to work and people were like, oh, it's just a cold. Or if you had a day off, people go, oh, it's just a cold. What are you having a day off for? Whereas now, I think people are a bit more conscious of spreading germs. They're a little bit more conscious than they were. I think COVID changed our attitudes a little bit about certain things. And I think you can see that a lot more in the workplace at the moment.
I may just note, I mean, a really good thing is no accidents at work. I mean, that's pretty excellent. Yes.
Well, no sickness, absence, loss,
Well, yes.
accidents at work. There have been
Yes,
some
yes,
accidents at
yes.
work, as there always is, but thankfully none that have resulted in days
Yeah,
lost.
yeah, so
due to
that's good
that.
news. Yeah.
I just wanted to highlight item 4.1, the fact that we had 38 new starters. Yes, 21 leavers, but 38 new starters. So perhaps we are building up the workforce at previous levels. And the fact that we have a new health and safety officer.
We do in the team, yeah. And he's made a brilliant start, so that's very good news. So that's
I've got one thing, and then if anybody else has. Item 6.2, was there any update on that at all?
on to
Any pay award?
6.2, yes, the pay award. So as mentioned in the report, obviously the national employers and the unions negotiate nationally on the pay award. As mentioned in that paragraph, the unions were balloting their members and were due to meet to discuss the outcomes of their balance. That meeting took place today, 1st of November, and I have received official notification that the pay award has been agreed for 22-23. So there will be action.
Okay.
It's exactly what's in here. The 1,900.
Yes. They've accepted the.
It's called 4.04 on allowances and
Yeah,
Yeah.
an additional day's holiday for next year.
excellent.
Yeah.
It's a shame they can't do it a little bit earlier though, before we hit budget, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
It should, well, I think there was a rise anticipated, but it's backdated to April.
Yeah.
So it's been approved in the,
But I mean, hopefully, for now this year's pay award has been agreed. Again, they can start some discussions between the national employers and the unions in terms of what plan needs to be put in place for, again, the national living wage increases, etc. going forward. And so hopefully any pay awards can be agreed as quickly as
It's quite
possible into
interesting.
the financial.
well, I mean, successful negotiations aren't the order of the day at the moment, are they? So, I mean, this is good news. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else on here that anybody wants to mention or
Move the recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
move the recommendation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Proposed by Councillor Mawson, seconded by Councillor Simmons. All in favour?
I'm in favour.
Anybody get one? Carried. Thank you. Item 6 on the agenda, which is the risk assessment policy. Over to you, Kerry.
I mean, this is fairly short and sweet, as the report states. The council has a risk assessment policy, and we've had that in place for numerous years. As mentioned, the HR team had a new health and safety officer, a new team member join us in March this year. So as part of his role, he's been obviously getting to know the council, the different services, working with managers, doing a high-level audit of risk assessments across the council. One of his duties, one of his numerous duties on his work plan is to revise some of the health and safety policies, one of which is the risk assessment policy, which is what's presented in the report. So effectively, it's a full-scale revision because he's rewritten it in full, and the policy is attached. I mean, it's pretty much meeting the legal, the policy is, best practice in terms of a risk assessment policy and meeting the legal requirements under Health Safety at Work Act, management of health safety at work regulations, the legal requirement to have suitable and sufficient risk assessments in place for your work activities.
I like the fact that you've done the responsible officers as an appendix as well, so should there be shuffled round, but any changes that can be altered accordingly. Any questions, councillors?
Straightforward.
Yeah.
Move the recommendation.
Move it.
Proposed Councillor Mawson, seconded Councillor Parson. All in favour? Unanimous.
I say no this time.
Sorry?
No.
Right, thank you very much. That's the end of the special sub.